this opportunity we have right now as artists, and just with anything you want to do, realistically, like you could start a gardening company and you just post videos about being obsessed with gardening every day, and the amount of like traction you can get for posting a video for free is absolutely unbelievable, especially because every platform now is switching their algorithm, like from it's not a followers algorithm anymore. It's all based on like what you like. It's like an interest graph is what they call it, I think. So like it's all like the TikTok, influence on all the other platforms. So like Reels, Facebook has their own version, YouTube has Shorts.
Yep.
And the opportunity is just unbelievable. And like I keep dialing down, like I have friends who are other artists that like my size, like they're getting booked for big festivals. They have big releases coming out. They don't post on social ever. They don't want to. They're like upset. They're like, I hate social media. I don't want to have to do that as an artist. And I'm like, okay, but how are you going to grow?
Taylor Kade, welcome to the Underground Society podcast, brother. How are you?
What's up? I'm good. Justin, how are you?
Good, man. So I want to start off this interview by just talking about your how you kind of started your independent artist journey. You actually didn't used to go by Taylor Kade. You went by Kade. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, that was my party bar DJ name, like my first, how I got my chops, sort of. And then I transitioned it when I actually had an artist project before that too.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, there's been a couple along the way, but yeah, Taylor Kade was kind of when I had my first like real record label release, and it was like my first song where I was like, oh wow, this is like a real song. I was like, I need like an artist name that's not. And I was sponsored by, or not sponsored. I had like a flow deal. I got like free golf clubs from TaylorMade in high school, and so it was like a play off that.
Got it.
Yeah, kind of like an ode to my previous life. All I cared about before music was golf. So
yeah, that's dope. I'm not a golfer myself, but I have family members that are very much into it. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, it gets a chokehold on you when you get into it.
Yeah. I enjoy hitting balls out at the range and stuff, but actually going and golfing, I've actually never done. So
it's a hard sport.
I can't say I don't like it because I've actually never done it, but
yeah. I mean, as how you're probably like what, mid-20s? Like,
yeah, 26. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like most male adults, like when they start getting closer to 30, into their 30s, they start like, hey, golf is pretty sick. And then they get really into it and spend all their whole
especially
years.
By that time too, golf was a really big, I don't know how big it is in the music scene necessarily, but in the business scene in general, it's a good like shaking hands, let's go play a game of golf, let's build a relationship kind of business. It's a good like business sidekick kind of activity. So
yeah, the DJ scene, it's funny. I was talking, one of my buddies, Jaws, the other day, he's got really into golf recently. He's a good friend of mine. And we've been talking about like how we're going to get it more involved in the scene. Like, cause there's all these like Elenium and Griffin and like Kygo and a bunch of these people are like getting super into golf who are DJs. Okay. So we're talking about doing like, like getting rounds together, playing events like around festivals where everyone's in the same location for like a few days. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
That'd be cool. No, that'd be cool. You see it all the time in other industries. So
yeah,
that'd
right.
Be cool.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. So Taylor Kade, that I'm assuming that's not your real name.
What? Yeah, no. So my real name's Taylor Keddington. So
okay.
Yeah.
But the Taylor Kade, tailor-made, that makes sense.
Yeah, and everyone called me TK when I was growing up, and so I wanted to keep the TK thing. And it was my sister's idea actually, but
cool.
Yeah, so the party bar DJ thing, I think that was like a big step. Like I first got into music when I was in college. I'm pretty old, honestly, but I graduated college in 2012, and that's like obviously when bass, like 2010, I went to University of Colorado at Boulder.
Okay.
Big bass music scene there, and I got into. I went and saw like a Rusko show, like my friends took me to for the first time ever. So that was literally the first electronic music I'd ever seen live, and I was like front row, like tripping my face off, like with my hands on the stage. And like the next day, I just could not stop like watching YouTube videos of that kind of music. And then I got really into like Fluxabillion and Skrillex and all that stuff as it came along. But then when I graduated college, I was like, oh yeah, so all these guys are DJs. So I got to like learn how to DJ. So I learned how to DJ. And then I started getting gigs at like local bars. I ended up playing I was a resident DJ for like 7 or 8 years. I played like almost 1,000 gigs. And I was just playing like top 40 music the whole time. And after
right.
3 or 5 years, you just start realizing like you are not getting any closer to the actual dream of like where you want to play. And so I had started making music too before, like when I graduated at the same time, but like you can get a lot better at DJing a lot faster than you can get good at producing, you know?
Very much so. Yeah. I know the basics of DJing, and that didn't take me very long to pick up.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a couple sessions and you kind of understand it, but yeah, with producing, that's a journey to actually put together your own brand, your own, your own style, your own songs, everything like that, and actually learn how to produce that. That's what, makes your career takes your career to the next level, I should say. When did you kind of realize that was what you needed to do? Because I know you went to Icon too. Was that when?
Yeah, I did go to Icon.
When was that?
Shoot, I went a long time ago, like 8 or 9. I was there at the same time as like Jaws and Slander and Nightmare and all those guys.
Friends with,
yeah. Sam and I, that's how we became friends back.
Got it.
Back then. And then he like lives down in, I'm from Orange County in Southern California. And so he lives down there because his wife's from Orange County too. So
got it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think I was like working in commercial real estate, and I was like, to my parents, I was like, you guys, like, I want your support on this. Like, I realized that like I'm going home every day from work and like working on music in my suit at lunchtime. Like, I really need to take this music thing seriously. Like, it's the only thing I want to do.
See you sitting there in a suit working on music.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is fire. Like, shit, I gotta get back to work.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, I was doing that. And then I was like playing gigs at night, and I was like DJing at, bars at night. And I was just like, I looked up like this music school. I want to get like better faster. Like, I need to, because I was already working a full-time job. So I can't just like sit there all day, every day making music. Like, even though I wanted to. I was like, I need to streamline this process. So I was like, I went to Icon. It was back when it was still a 9-month program, but I took night classes in LA. So I would work my like day job, and my boss was pretty cool. And like at 3:30 or whatever, like me and my buddy who did the class with me would like leave, drive an hour and a half to get there for night class, and then come back. And then I had gigs a lot of the time that night. It was pretty hectic, but it definitely sped up the process. But I think like the relationships and just like being in the energy of everybody who's trying to do that same thing is really like what made it sort of worth it, Yeah,
that's cool. I've heard mixed, especially recently. I've talked to a lot of people who have gone to Icon, and I sometimes hear mixed reviews of the program. Obviously, you're friends with people who've really taken what they've learned at Icon and done. Jaws has done incredible with his career, and you've done the same thing. You've done really well with the things that you have going on, and I just want to, I guess, ask your opinion of why do you think it might get negative stigma sometimes, and how is your personal experience with Icon?
Yeah, I had a great experience with Icon. I definitely think that like, I don't think this is necessarily like their fault, but I think in order to get the attention, they have to pitch it as like, oh, these guys came to this school and then they became a huge artist. So like the anticipation that everybody has going there, I think like, it's like a little naive, but like most people in the classes are like kids. Like I was like 22 or whatever when I went. And so like you go in, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to leave and I'm going to be a world famous DJ. And like the reality is
there's a lot more to it than that.
And those guys like Jaws, Nightmare, whatever, like those guys were working on music. Like they went to class, but they were working on music harder than anybody else who was there. And still it took some of them years after that. Like, I mean, they're like doing 20-hour days producing, doing nothing else. Yeah. Right. And like, I think people think that they can just go to class, do your homework, and like, then you'll become huge. And like, I mean, for me, it took me another like 10 years before I even started seeing any success whatsoever, So like everyone has their own journey, obviously. And I think some people are like, they have more experience with music before. Some people are like, it's just everyone's on their own journey sort of, I guess. But I think that's probably like people feel like, oh, well, I went and I didn't become a big artist. So that was a ripoff or something. But like, I think if you just have like the right anticipation, like you're going for connections, you're going to learn a ton.
Yeah.
And also just like all the stuff you learn from like you get like, I left with like thousands of sick sample packs that like all the kids were like sharing with each other, and like every plugin you could ever
resources
imagine.
And stuff you
like,
have, whatever.
Yeah.
Everything's at your fingertips at that point. Yeah.
And then like I got my first vocal sessions with vocalists after I graduated, and I was like, oh wow, I have access to these studios, so I can like take them in there, and like it looks like I have a really professional studio set up that I can use, and like made me more legit. Like that stuff was really helpful too, you know. So
What do you think you learned the most being a student there? If you were to take like your biggest lesson, what do you think? I mean, I know you learned a lot, and like you were just talking about all the resources and stuff, but for you, what do you think was like the biggest growth or learning experience that you had there?
I think for me, it was just like the networking that was the biggest part.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I almost like, I mean, it's been so long that I almost like have lost my knowledge of like a bunch of stuff that they told me.
And I graduated with my associate's degree like a couple years ago. I'm like taking marketing classes and stuff, and like some of that stuck with me, but honestly, more of what I learned about marketing was just by like doing.
Right. Dude,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. So like they give you the tools, but then like you learn by making songs, you know,
Yeah.
like you have to learn every part of the process every single time you do it. So like the more songs you make, the better you get, and like the better your ideas get, et cetera, et cetera.
Repetition.
So like I learned a bunch of stuff. I also have come to learn, like I am actually still struggling to deal with this, but like they teach you the whole process, right? They teach you like all this really intricate like mastering stuff and mixing stuff. And what I've learned over the years is like I don't think I'm like good. I'm like good at mixing and mastering, and I have done it for most of all my records, but it takes me forever, and I don't want to do that. And like I left there feeling like I know how to do this now, so I need to do that. I think if I had just accepted that like my strength is in coming up with like a ton of catchy ideas and then picking one of those and making it a good song, and then like the intricacies of like the mixing and stuff. I mean,
well,
like
you can outsource that. Like, there's
right.
specific people who actually enjoy that and actually do that full time as their job.
100%.
Yeah.
And like, I have buddies that are like, they're super into doing that. And like, I just pay them to do it now if I want to. But I think like leaving that school, it's like I knew how to do it in such depth that I felt like I had to do it for a ton of years. And then as I'm getting older, I'm realizing like a lot of people, like they don't do that for themselves because like it just doesn't make sense. Like I want to be an artist. Like I want to spend my time doing creative stuff. I don't need to be an engineer necessarily, you know, but having the knowledge
it's
is
good
cool
to, it's
too,
good to know. Right. Just like for me, like for the pieces that make up this podcast, the social media stuff, the actual interview skills, the editing skills, like all these different things that you have to know to actually release a podcast. It's a lot of work that people don't really realize, but it's like, what do most hosts actually do? Like the big shows, they sit down, they do the interview. Sometimes they do their prep work. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes someone else writes all their notes for them. Like it just depends on what level you're on. And a lot of it you can outsource. It's like find what you actually enjoy doing and like focus on that and let everything else like be comfortable enough to like outsource the things that you don't really feel like doing.
Exactly right. Yeah. 100%. And just realizing that like literally everybody has help. Like you're not supposed to be good, like the best in the world at everything, you know? I mean, maybe some people are, I don't know.
Yeah. It blows my mind. Even like for an artist, like some people like manage themselves, even like big acts sometimes like don't even have a manager. Like I think Ulasile is one of the people that comes to mind when I talk about that. Is I don't think even to today he doesn't have a manager. He just does everything himself, does all of his own booking, does and still produces all the music. I think he has help with like his record label, but his individual artist project, he's like, it's all me. Like, that's impressive.
I mean, dude, I still am like in a big way self-managed. If I have like I have relationships with people that are sort of like help me make decisions and stuff like that. And like, when things happen, like bigger things happen, and like I want to get them involved, like I pay them a percentage to do like help manage a deal. Like I just did this big remix pack where I'm doing like 3 remixes of big country songs, and I'm like, I need to be focusing on the music. I don't have time to deal. Like, can you please help me deal with this? And they're like, oh yeah, because they have like other stuff to do. I'm not big enough to be like, oh yeah, I'm a full-time manager for Kade, right? Hopefully soon, but so. I've been like, I mean, the way I look at it is like, if you have to pay a manager 20% and you're up and coming, why don't you just...
How much money are you making and what does that percentage look like at the end of the day?
And also like, doesn't that mean you're going to get to your goals like 20% faster if you have the extra money kind of, right? I don't know. It's like, you don't really need, like, unless you're like literally so busy that you cannot handle everything. And at that point you could honestly just get an assistant to like answer your emails for you and like coordinate shows and stuff. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting conversation, especially for people, up and coming people. Like I'd say hold off as long as possible.
Yeah. I would probably agree. I manage some smaller guys, but like it's definitely not a full-time thing, and why I can do, still have a day job, still run the podcast, and still help them because they're not like full-blown artists that need my attention or help every single day. It's more so like getting them, their press releases and they have a new release, or helping them get shows, like be almost like an assistant type thing. So
and you're being an agent then too, getting shows.
Right. You're doing the whole thing. Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, you have, I don't know if you would call it your hit song or not, but the Love You Like That, you did a remix compilation with it. On Spotify alone, it has 1.4 million streams. Do you think anything that you learned at Icon went into producing that song? I'm sure a lot of it did, but what did that look like, producing that song, and what's kind of the backstory with that? Because I know you had a vocalist on that too.
Yeah, actually, gosh, I haven't thought about the story about that vocalist for a long time. So that's actually kind of a funny story. As far as the Icon thing, I mean, I don't know, honestly. Like that happened probably, I don't know, like 5 years after I left Icon. So like I kind of done a lot of stuff between then. So like I definitely think Icon helped me get like to the place that I was at musically, like faster than I would have if I didn't go. So I guess I could say it helped me in that way probably. But yeah, I was basically like, I was like, okay, what's the difference between me and like all my favorite artists? It's like, oh, well, they have like really big vocals on their songs. And I was like listening to, I think it was like, what's the song No Way Out? Vicestone, No Way Out. I was listening to that song. It was like on NBA 2K and stuff.
Yeah.
And so Kat Nestle is the vocalist on there. And I like looked her up and I was like, let me just like look up her. It's like her voice was like, I just thought it was the coolest sound. And turns out she went to a high school that was like a rival high school that I went of my high school.
Oh, no way.
And so I just like DM'd her on Facebook and she's like, hey, wow, yeah. I sent her the track that I was thinking about using. And she's like, oh yeah, hey, I love the track. And she's like, my vocal fee is whatever. And at the time I was like, oh shit, like there's vocal fees. Like I didn't realize that was going to be a part of the equation. I was like, oh man, I definitely can't afford that right now. But I was like struggling like DJ at night kind of thing. And I was like, but if I ever have the opportunity to like come up with that kind of funding, like I'll definitely let you know. And then the next day my like roommate was like, hey, why don't you just do like a GoFundMe and like tell a story about why you want to work with her so bad and see what happens. So I did that. And I just told the story about how like this song was going to change my life and all this stuff. And then it actually worked. Like I ended up getting donations, I think because I'm older and I have friends that like have real careers and stuff.
Right.
They, I had some friends that are like doing pretty well would put $500 into it or whatever. And like,
nice.
Really helping out.
What the hell is the fee?
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, no, it wasn't that much. Like it wasn't.
Holy shit.
But I like somehow funded it. And so I got a song with her from that. And then like that song, turned into a release on my first EP, which was on Circus Records. That's called Back to Life.
You've done a lot of work with Circus up to this point too, right?
I just did my first EP with them, so it was like,
okay. I thought you've been working with them.
Talk to Me. I put out a 4-song EP with them, so that song was the title track on there. And then because of doing that song, I had a relationship with her. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, hey, I want to make a new song. I have this really cool idea. It was the Love You Like That, like early idea. I sent it to her. She loved it because it was a pandemic. She's like, hey, let's just like make art. Yeah. I'm sitting at home, like, let's do something. I loved our song we did together. And she wrote the vocal, and then it took me 2 years to finish the song. Because she sent me the Love You Like That vocal, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the greatest vocal I've ever heard. And
I got to produce something to like do this vocal well.
Yeah. So I think this is actually a really good like learning lesson though, which I've taken into other parts of my production now. So I made the original idea, got the vocal, and then I was like, okay, there's something super special about this, like the vocal with the chord progression. But I was like, the drop needs to be redone. Like it's just not there yet. I know I can do better. I know it can be better. And so, like I said, it took me 2 years to figure this out, but I'd spend a couple months on it and like not come up with the right idea. And then I'd like put it to the side, work on other stuff, and then come back to it. So I ended up making like, I don't know, 60 different drop ideas for that song. But like by the time that I got to whatever number it was, like 55, and I found the one that it is today. It's like I just got that feeling that everybody talks about, where you like get the feeling where you just know that it's the one. Mm-hmm. And so I got that feeling, and
it's like finding a wife, kind of. I feel
it's just a numbers game, honestly. Like your creative brain is like, if you're trying to like, you know, everyone's like, oh, well, you need to create as many songs as possible. I think that also applies to single songs. Like in my experience, like if you have something like a vocal that's like so good that it just needs to be, you know, like highlighted in the right way, mm-hmm. just make like a ton of drop ideas. I mean, I do this now still, but like, I think my idea creation has gotten better over the years, but like I'll make, you know, like 10 drop ideas for like a remix. And it's like, eventually when you get to number 7 or something, you're like, oh wait, that's the one. You know, and then you can finish it. But like, you can't always just assume that your first idea is the best, you know?
Right.
and that song has been, you know, it came out on Lost in Dreams, the Insomniac label.
Yep.
And then I was really fortunate too. It like when it got to 1 million streams, they're like, well, let's do a remix pack. And so I got somehow like Heckler wanted to do a remix for it. And like Isaac and some of these dudes are like really, really sick up and coming, like, you know, bass artists and whatever.
Heckler's been on this show as well. He's super cool guy.
I saw that, dude. He's the man. He was finishing the remix when he was like ironing his shirt for his wedding. He was like sitting there finishing it up. I was like, you're such a legend.
Savage. Yeah.
He's such a legend.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's dope, dude.
So you were talking about the importance of, you know, you all these people that you used to look up to, all your favorite producers. The difference you said was the vocalist that they would have in their songs. There's a lot of vocals within. You've mentioned you really like country music as well, and there's a lot of vocalists. Obviously, the country music scene is all vocalists, is all singing, is all that type of music. When did you have the idea to create Yeedm?
Yeah,
and when did that whole thing come along? You know, I mean, obviously, we have very similar, you know, backgrounds when it comes to music and why we love music. I grew up listening to country music. I went to a George Strait concert when I was 5, and that was just country music has been a big part of my life growing up. Outside of all the EDM stuff I've been involved with, but my parents love it as well. My parents met in a country bar, but I've always had this idea from early on when I first got introduced to EDM, like, I would love for someone to create, you know, country mixed with EDM. And I've heard it from a couple other people, but it was just like, didn't really hit the same. But dude, you've done such a phenomenal job at that. Where did that come along, and why did you lean so much into it?
Yeah. So that's definitely a big topic of my life right now. So I actually used to be like, even through college, I was like a person I was basically like one of those, you know, the people that are like, I like every genre except for country.
Yeah,
and they just have like this agenda, this like agenda, or like they hate country music. So I used to be like that, actually. I grew up on like, you know, Led Zeppelin and like hip hop and rap and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got invited. Like I had just gone through a breakup or something, and my buddy invited me.
Country music hits when you're brokenhearted.
Yeah, my buddy's like, "Hey, I got an extra ticket to this Stagecoach thing. It's a country festival. Cool. Like you should cruise out." And I was like, I mean, I have nothing else going on. Like, yeah, let's do it. I went out there, had the absolute time of my life, and I was like, but really, what got me was like I was walking around and like the energy and like the people there. I was like, damn, this reminds me a lot of being at like an EDM festival. Like everybody is so stoked right now, like high-fiving strangers, just like pure good vibes, like tons of beer drinking. I'm a big beer person.
Me too, man.
and I was like, damn, the vibes are just good here. I was like, it's like this exact same energy that I get, not like energy, you know, like crazy dancing, but like the like good vibes of like electronic stuff. And I was like, kind of wild. And I just like kind of fell in love with country music. And then, so when I went to Icon, actually, I put in my business plan in like level 3 that like my biggest goal one day was to collaborate with like Florida Georgia Line and like all these big country artists.
Hell yeah.
And I got like laughed out of my class. Everyone's like, you're a joke. But I had the idea. So I kept talking about it. I was like, these are two of the biggest genres in the world. Like every other genre is being crossed over in the biggest way.
Especially right now, dude. Country's having a moment.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, 6 years ago, I was like talking. I was like, I need to put country music with electronic music, but like do it in a cool way. Obviously, Avicii did the stuff, and it was like, but it was like more folk based. Like I'm into like more like rock country sort of. And so I made a Dan and Shay remix in like 2018 of their song Tequila.
Such a good voice on
it's
which one, Dan or Shay? Which one's the vocalist? I can't remember.
I think Shay,
great voice. Yeah,
the vocalist. Yeah, he's insane. It's been so hard to get a cover of that vocal to do because like nobody could recreate his voice. And I made that remix, and like everyone that I'd sent it to was like, "Oh my god, like this is like the one that's gonna break you." It didn't end up being that one, right? But like it did go viral on TikTok. I posted it like 2 or 3 years.
And it's still big, especially in today's day and age. That's still a big thing. Yeah,
I posted it like a year ago or something on TikTok, and it'd been out on my SoundCloud since like 2018. And it got like 1 million plays on the video, and then. This is actually, I think, how the term Yeedm actually started. I think it started in the comment section of that video because I'd never seen it before that. And
it's so smart.
I tried to look it up too, and like the interviews say it was started in like 6 months after that video came out. But like, so in my video, I basically said like, I didn't think it was going to go viral, right? But I was like, we got to coin this term, or like, what should we call this genre, like country and EDM? Some of my comments was like, hear me out. What if we call it Yeedm? And then so I like messaged him and was like, hey, can I use this term? And started posting with it. He's like, yeah, I don't care. And like I started posting like, oh yeah, is this the summer of Yeedm? Blah, blah, blah. And then everyone just started like taking to it and just like using it for all country crossover stuff, which is sick.
Yeah.
So, but then, I don't know. I didn't do much with the genre. I don't think I was ready yet to do like a lot more. This past like year, I started getting way more into it, and then I just
you played EDC, right?
The
full set of it. EDC.
I got to play twice.
Or should we call it EDC at this point?
Yeah, I played both. Right, I played 4 sets of EDC. 2 of them were for EDC.
Wow. Okay.
And then I played a set at the Lost in Dream stage, and then a set for my side project Tailspin as well.
Very cool.
But yeah, being able to. So like, I've been trying to do the country thing for a long time. I guess the point is, and now having like stages at EDC that are fully, geared towards that is pretty cool. It's like coming full circle. It's definitely having a big moment right now, which it just makes so much, it's like inevitable. It should have happened a long time ago, but yeah. So like, it's not it's like I'm doing I have a lot of stuff I'm working on behind the scenes. I have 3 country official remixes coming out on the 4th of July.
Very cool. Good date for it too.
It's a great day. It's kind of I got hit up literally 10 days ago by this country artist who I talked to in DMs like a long time ago about doing something. He's like, hey, me and my team want to put together a remix pack. Like we want to do 3 remixes. We want to put it on the 4th of July. I'm like,
hell yeah.
4th of July. Like, doesn't it need to be submitted now?
I have a week. Yeah.
So I literally just like yesterday I sent them in. I spent the past 10 days not sleeping and finishing.
Okay, that makes sense. In our email conversation, you were like, big project. I was like, okay.
Yeah. And so that is really exciting. And so it'll be my first official, because most of the stuff like you do, like the Tequila
official SoundCloud.
Yeah, it's all SoundCloud drops. So it'll be my first country crossover stuff officially coming out. And then I got like a big single with Insomniac and Lost in Dreams 3 weeks after that, and my EP with Lost in Dreams right after that. Ooh. So I got like 9 songs coming out in the next 3 months. Doing tight.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that's cool I'll have it timed out like that too, because I'm sure you'll be able to catch some momentum hopefully off of all that too. Yeah,
we love momentum. You got to put out a lot of music.
Yeah.
Keep up in this day and age.
How did you figure out, like, was there a time when you were first starting out that it like didn't quite work? Like, how did you figure out how to fully make it work and blend the two together properly?
With country music?
Yeah, like sonically, how did you do that?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of tricky, right? So like I want to say this in like the best way possible, because it's like the part of country is sad songs. And like a lot of country though, I think, which is the part that people like give it shit for, but it's like the part that country fans, and you'll know this, like really appreciate about it. There's like this inevitable, almost like cheesiness sometimes, where it's like every song's like about the beer drinking and the pickup truck. And like, but that's like what is great about country, sort of, right?
Yeah.
So like,
and it's if you're from the country, like my dad's a farmer too. If you're from the country, it's literally your life. Like that's what happens.
So like trying to make that sound cool is sort of tricky because it like can come off sounding really like not genuine. But just using sounds, I mean, obviously electronic music and rock have been mixed together a lot in the past like 5 years.
Yeah, look at Soul of a King.
Yeah, totally. And like Millennium and everybody everybody has guitar in their songs now, right? So I think that like really opened up the door to it. And then, I mean, you'll hear in the remixes, like I in my songs originally, like I put like a lot of piano in my songs anyways, and like, you know, guitar when I can and stuff. And so I think that was like really natural for me. Like because piano is in all music basically, right? So it's like doing that, using those same instruments and then finding ways to make them feel like add elements that are also electronic so that it feels like it's still a remix, and then, you know, adding drops, which makes everything better. And
do you play the guitar? Do you play, you said you probably play piano, but do you play any other instruments?
I play 0 instruments.
Oh.
I only know how to play the computer. And I think that's part of the reason why it took me forever to like figure out how to make music in the first place. I just know what sounds good. And so I feel like, especially at the beginning, it was like, now I know scales and I know when I'm using a major ninth or like whatever. And I can fake it with, like, I have guitars. I play it, like, I can figure out one chord and like play it and then like do an
kind of piece it together.
And then like piece it together. And make it sound real. But I mean, it's kind of wild because like that was what brought me to electronic music sort of in the first place. And like, I loved the aspect of music before that, but besides the fact that I'd never heard electronic music before, I just like became obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you could just that you were in charge of like programming every single element of the song. Because I never got attached to like, I tried to play the guitar in high school. I tried to play the bass in high school, tried to do whatever. It's like, I never got attached to like a single instrument. But I love the idea of like, oh, I can do everything by myself.
Right, you know? Right. So yeah, I guess that answers the question that I had for you too. Was were you with your previous projects before the what was it, the TK or whatever, and then the Taylor K project?
Dude, the better project was my duo, the Super Soakers. We were a big room duo. Big room duo that just wanted to. Our goal was to make the crowd as wet as possible, and we were going to have like squirt guns and rubber ducks on stage. And it never took off. It's still a great branding idea.
That's a great idea for a big room project.
I know, right?
It's kind of their vibe, yeah.
Who knows? Big room's
But did you? I was gonna ask, like, were you ever in a band previously, based off your music inspiration and stuff? But probably not.
When you like pretend you're in a band in high school and like,
right.
Like, we didn't actually make any music, you know?
Yeah. Just jammed out in the garage.
Yeah, playing
messed around, had fun.
Wrong scales while the other person's playing this other thing. Yeah.
Where do you see Yeedm going in the future? Do you hope that it continues? Do you I don't know if you would call yourself kind of like the lead pioneer in this kind of subgenre, or like where do you want to take it if you do have the reins of it?
I mean, I'm definitely trying to be somebody that's pushing. I think I definitely have a little bit of a unique side of it where I think I'm one of the only people that's like putting a lot of energy into mixing sort of like bass music, future, like really like modern sounding. A lot of the stuff that's been done, like, and this is not to the fault of those people, because like when you're crossing over into a genre that is so big like that, you have to make it accessible, sort of like, because it's these huge artists like the Marshmello collabs with Kane Brown and like that sort of stuff. Like those have to be such accessible songs. And like, so what I really wanted to do, because like I hadn't seen anyone really doing it, is like
explain accessible.
Okay, so it's like essentially like pop crossover kind of music, right?
Okay.
Like a type of electronic music that like a mass part of the majority of the population.
Just think of big smash hits of like Marshmello.
Big Marshmello hits. I mean, there's a reason those people are like have 60 million monthly listeners, right? They make very accessible music. Like a lot of people could potentially like it. It can go on pop playlists. It can go on, you know, like mainstream radio, stuff like that. But what I was seeing was like people weren't really doing like what I think is cool, like electronic music mixing with country. It's kind of like everyone's kind of like trying to do the thing that Avicii did, but like you're never going to do it as good as Avicii did it, right? And that's also like not the type of music that I make.
Right.
And now there's a lot of like, you know, like the house, like those, because like those house music songs that are like so massive right now, like where it was slap house and now it's kind of like tech house and now it's kind of like still in those genres where it could be, like hugely popular, like frat kids love it, like all that kind of genre.
Yeah.
I don't make that kind of music. And like, I didn't see anyone in my like, melodic bass, future bass, but also like I make drum and bass sometimes and exploring with like tons of other like whatever genres, doing it in like a really cool way. I wouldn't say that my music is cool in any way. I make pretty like poppy music as it is.
Which is why it probably works, why you can make it work, because your music is that way. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I wish my music was cooler. I get in the studio and it just comes out a little bit like happy feeling, but I think it like fits my cool personality.
So. Yeah, no, I think it's great. And like I said, you're the one person that I've seen so far, at least, that has actually, like, I would say maybe not mastered, but has done the best job with the crossover of country and EDM. So like every other time I've heard it, I haven't liked it. So
yeah, I mean, sick. I appreciate that. Yeah, hopefully you'll like some of the stuff I have coming out now. I'm like trying to push myself and trying to do something, that people haven't heard before, that it doesn't exist yet. Right. Like I opened my Yeedm set with like a dubstep song, right? I could play tons of dubstep, and like then I played techno and all this stuff in with country songs. And I think like people hadn't heard that before, and it was, I think it was pretty fun. So
yeah, well, especially you were talking about how country's having just such a huge movement, especially right now in the last couple of years. It's just one of the biggest genres. I don't think even rap. Rap was like the top dog for a long time, and now it seems like it's shifted to country. What everyone outside of our industry who don't listen to EDM, like the general person, usually listens to country now.
Oh yeah,
and but. Did you ever fear, and I think you did it at a good time, but did you ever fear or ever receive any judgment for that? I mean, I know you were laughed at at Icon, but besides that.
I think that was a playful laugh, though. That was like, everyone's like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, did you really just say that? Like, all my friends, But yeah, no, so like literally, so right before EDC this year, I was like promoting my sets because I was like, I got to get people to come out. Like, no one even knows this is happening. And I was like, so I did this series that was like, songs you can only hear in my set.
Yes, I saw this. A couple of them have like over 1,000 likes too. They've really took off for you.
Yeah, one of them specifically I posted it and it was like I mixed like Wagon Wheel, like the Darius
Darius Rucker.
Yeah, Wagon Wheel with like an Millennium drop. And it was just a mashup that I made for my set. And I was just like, hey, I'll just promote my set. And then if anyone sees it, they'll like know that this is EDM thing is happening at EDC and they can come see that set. And I woke up and like it had, 30,000 plays. And now it's at like 130,000 or something. But like the next day that I woke up, I was getting trashed in the comments. Like, keep this shit out of EDC, all these like elitist, and I like it, all these elitist EDM fans. It's probably like the dubstep bros. It's like, dude, I'm going to be playing like some pretty nasty dubstep in the set. I don't know, you might like it, but it's like, it's fair. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, but like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm pretty positive.
That probably added to the numbers with people hating on it though.
Okay. Right. That's exactly it. So they got in comment wars. Like I had people defending me because they were like,
thanks for the pre-press.
and then, so they were getting in comment wars. So it was totally driving up the streams, and I got a lot of exposure from that, but like, vast majority, overwhelming positive. People are like so excited that it's happening because they haven't seen anybody do that in that way.
Right.
But definitely, like, I got some gnarly hate. I started getting messages from. I stopped looking at it. I don't have bad days very often because I'm, trying to stay pretty positive. Like, I feel pretty lucky to be able to do this in general and like have, just have a life in general, just to be on this planet at this time.
Just be here,
Yeah, I just feel really lucky and really stoked that, that I was born into like a great life. But I had like the worst, I had like a full-blown like depression day. I was having a bad day. Those words can hurt, man.
Yeah. How did you mentally overcome that?
Just
by removing yourself.
Yeah, I stopped looking at them for like a day or whatever. And then, I did just like calling, I think I went for like a run or something and like I live down by the beach, so I went down and, did a run by the beach, and then like call my girlfriend, call my siblings, and they're just like,
we still love you.
But
we love what you're doing.
Here's the thing, that like, okay, even though it was hurting my feelings, like what I really think is that like people have to be probably hurting about something on the inside if they're going to go on social media and get like really upset at you for like doing something that you makes you happy. So like, I'm not actually taking, it's like,
I saw that
whatever.
video. I don't know if it was in response to this or not, but I saw the video that you posted. I think it was another song that you only hear in my EDC, that part of that series it was like a clip of Taylor Swift talking about like people who are bashing on people that are like, it's just something that you are happy about or whatever. And it's like, why do you got to hate on it? Or there was something like that.
That T Swift quote was, I don't know, actually even know how I found that. I actually had that in my set, or it was just part of an edit that I made.
Okay.
It was kind of ironic that I posted
perfectly,
it. Right?
Yeah.
I definitely was like, oh damn, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's like, if you're into something, like, don't let other people tell you that it's not cool. Like, who cares? Their opinion doesn't matter at all.
Yep.
If
it makes you happy, that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about a lot of EDC, you playing EDC. How many times have you played EDC so far?
I played EDC like 7 times, I think. I played more sets than that because I played multiple at a couple of events.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been, some of them were because I released music with Lost in Dreams, and then some of them were like, just like art cars.
Right.
And stuff. But yeah, I mean,
those art cars get popping though.
Yeah, EDC is the greatest festival on the planet.
Yes. Yeah. Have you played any other giant festivals like that, or have you had any big opportunities?
Not really, not yet. Hopefully soon. I'm hoping to get booked for Stagecoach next year. But
yeah, that'd be fire. Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah,
because especially bringing it back to like what kind of inspired you to go that direction too.
Yeah, I mean, they had a bunch of DJs that got booked this year for that.
Okay, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, like Marshmallow and the Chainsmokers and like a ton of DJs. They had a whole stage just for DJs this year.
Cool.
Shipwreck played, Dylan Francis. So hopefully next year I can get on that lineup, but we'll see.
Yeah, hell yeah. When did the Insomniac Radio stuff come up? And when did you get that opportunity? Because that's also something you do. You work for Insomniac Radio. You do, on-site interviews of what I've seen at EDC with Keizo, Nightmare, a lot of the big boys. When did that come along, and how did that happen?
Yeah, so I'm not the live stream host anymore. Actually, I'm just focusing on the artist project now. But for the past 5 years, I was the main host for the artist interviews for all the Insomniac events. But yeah, I started working. That's
a bucket list thing for me. So.
Oh, dude. I mean, let's talk after this. I could probably link you up to get you a little shot in there. But so I was working. I was doing that commercial real estate job back, and I was like, I'm doing this and I just can't stand it. Like, I need to do something in music. Like, I can't be in real estate. This is ridiculous. And I did the jump off a cliff thing, and the net will appear. I basically was I'm quitting my job. And then I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I do have some DJ gigs, so I can pay for my rent through that. But I was like, I'll just try and find other opportunities. And I basically quit, and then I just started hitting up everybody that I knew that had any connection whatsoever to music. And I hit up this girlfriend from high school, and I was like, hey, your boyfriend does something in music, right? And she was like, yeah, he works with all these big DJs and whatever. And I got connected with him, and he turns out he ran a radio production company that works behind the scenes for artists and their teams to help them with radio mixes and programming music and stuff. So I started working for that production company and being able to work with big artists, and it's just helping them curate music for their radio shows. And sometimes they need help doing mixes because they don't have the time to do a mix, et cetera, et cetera. And so I started working for that company, and so I got into the music scene. And then the guy who owns the company had a relationship with Pasquale. And so we had the idea Insomniac should have their own radio station. So we went and pitched the idea to Pasquale, and he's like, I love it. When can we start it? We're like,
okay. So that's when Insomniac Radio was started.
Yeah. So
that's
we launched Insomniac Radio, and I still do work for Insomniac Radio behind the scenes.
Very cool.
A bit as well now, but we've been, running the station forever long. It's been going like 6 years now or something. We live broadcast the festivals. And so one of the live festivals, we're like going to live broadcasted EDC Mexico sets. And they're like, well, wouldn't it be sick if we had artist interviews backstage?
Yeah.
And he kind of like just looked over at me and was like, you're good with people and you're probably good on the camera. Like, let's just throw you in there to be the host. And I was like, oh God.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, why not? Sure. And then I went in and like, in my first interview, I realized that the guy I was interviewing was more nervous than I was to be getting interviewed. And so I was like, okay, this actually isn't that bad. And then you get to, now I've done like interviews with hundreds of the artists, and I got to like become friends with a lot of them and like meet them through that and their teams. And what you come to find out is like these artists are super, super, super nice people for the most part.
Yeah.
And like almost every single one of them I've had like a really lovely experience with. And so that was really fun. It was really fun being able to network and be at all the festivals. It's like I'm always there. But then the artist project got to a certain place where it was like, okay, I need to like not be the everything guy anymore. I need to focus my energy into my artist project now. And so that's what I'm doing now. But yeah, it's a fun run for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be a lot different doing, because what's your time limit on most of those interviews? Because like you don't have an hour to sit down with someone, which is what I'm used to. But
yeah. Oh no. They're
how do you come
like
up with like the material? You have 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like how do you know what questions you ask and like how does that workflow work?
I mean, so I do usually like I look at the list of who's coming through for that day, and then I would like look at their social media or something and see if they like have a new release or if like something funny happened recently, or you talk to them for 5 minutes before, because they come through like every 15 minutes and you have like 5 minutes to interview them. And so you talk to them before and they'll be like I remember Born Dirty one time or at EDC Mexico, and he's like, oh yeah, oh my God. He's like, I left my passport in LA and then I flew to Florida and then I had to fly straight here. So I had to have a friend fly me my passport to Florida. And like, they tell you these stories right before you interview, and you just like talk to them about that. And then you ask them about their set. Yeah. They're usually all fired up because they're about to play or they just played or whatever. Right. And so you talk about their set and like why EDC is special. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's only 5 minutes.
Right.
So yeah.
Do you think you would have ever like gone into starting a podcast or any other form of, interviewing people if it wasn't for that opportunity?
Probably not.
No.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it is a good way to get your face out there and your name, but I might have a radio show at some point. I did host the Lost in Dreams radio show, and I did like 25 episodes and interviews on all of them for that for the past couple of years, like a monthly show. But that show, we're also, it's no longer, we're repurposing the energy towards mixes behind the scenes for them. But
got it.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll start a radio show at some point.
Yeah.
I've made enough for them for other people.
You mentioned before the interview that you had some resistance to social media and utilizing that tool. Did you have the same type of feeling about interviewing people and being on that's kind of a high pressure environment. You have cameras, you have a big DJ sitting across from you, you have, a bunch of people watching you, people are tuning in from probably all over the world with the live stream. What did you have any resistance to? I know you had resistance to social media. Did you have resistance to that? Were you kind of afraid to put yourself out there in that way?
I was just afraid of looking like I didn't know what I was doing as an interviewer. And then when you realize the interviews were so short and easy and you're like, oh wait, I actually do kind of have a good personality for this. Like I can just sit there and shoot the shit with because I am an artist, it's really easy for me to talk to other artists. Right. So it's like, you have a lot to mutual interests and stuff like that. And so that was pretty easy, but the social media subject, I would love to talk about, because I think that is this massively spoken about, and this subject right now is so I wouldn't resistance to social media is not exactly, I was just more scared to put my face out there. But I keep hearing this subject, and I listen to lots of podcasts and stuff as well. And you hear everyone
so many people, so many artists are like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's my question is if you're an up and coming artist, how do you expect to grow? Like
Yeah.
there are so many songs coming out on a day-to-day basis. So this is just, you know, my 2 cents. Like, because the social media thing now for me, like I started posting on TikTok in the pandemic when I was like, this TikTok thing's kind of going crazy. Like, I'm just going to start posting and just see what happens. So some of my posts like started going viral, right? And like remixes I was making, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. I just got like a lot of new fans from that. Yeah. Got like 7,000 followers from that one post. And you're like, maybe I should just keep doing this. And like, the more that you do it, you get better at it. It's like anything.
Yeah.
And then I put out like a cover remix of In Sync, this like Want You Back. It's like one of my songs on Spotify now. And that video got like 2 million views.
Oof.
Big. The song I had released a year before that, right? So like it had done like 20,000 streams for the whole year or something, which is like, it's not a bad amount of streams, but like it's definitely not
views
massive.
on that.
You get 2 million views on the video a year. I just decided to post it a year later, right? For some reason. It went super viral. The next day, it jumped up to like 7,000 streams a day because
holy shit.
they're clicking. The people are, it's like the amount of exposure this opportunity we have right now as artists, and just with anything you want to do, really. Right. Like you could start a gardening company and you just post videos about being obsessed with gardening every day. And the amount of like traction you can get for posting a video for free is absolutely unbelievable, especially because every platform now is switching their algorithm, like from it's not a followers algorithm anymore. It's all based on like what you like. It's like an interest graph is what they call it, I think. So like it's all like the TikTok, you know, influence on all the other platforms. So like Reels, Facebook has their own version, YouTube has Shorts.
Yep.
And the opportunity is just unbelievable. And like I keep dialing down, like I have friends who are other artists that like my size, like they're getting booked for big festivals. They have big releases coming out. They don't post on social ever. They don't want to. They're like upset. They're like, I hate social media. I don't want to have to do that as an artist. And I'm like, okay, but how are you going to grow? Like, I just don't understand what people are thinking. And I think the mentality really is just like an ego thing. It's like, well, because like that was the resistance that I had for myself when I started posting. Like I know all these bigger artists, right? So I'm followed by whoever, Alice in Wonderland, Jaws, Nightmare, like they'll follow me on Instagram, right? And so I was like, oh, well, if I do these like cheesy posts, like I don't want them to.
What
are
they going to think?
I don't want them to judge me and think like, oh, he's cheesy. But the second that I like got over that, and I just started posting,
they're all goofballs and fun themselves. So
100%. And then they actually respected me more after, I think, at least. Maybe they do think I'm cheesy, and they just haven't told me yet. But because it started working. And so like when my videos start popping off and then my songs start doing well, you get way more opportunities from that. And you're just getting exposure to the industry in general. So like your songs blow up, like you blow up for doing like, you flip a new Bieber song, whatever. And then the post goes viral, and then like a pop artist hits you up and is like, hey, I'm looking for someone to remix my song. Like, would you be interested? Like you get opportunities out of it. And like just the amount of exposure you can get for new fans, I mean, it's unbelievable. My following since I started going really hard in that on Instagram Reels specifically before EDC, and it like was working. And so I just kept posting. I mean, I almost doubled my Instagram following in the past month because of those videos. Like it really, really works. And these people are clicking through, they're following me on Spotify, they're listening to stuff on SoundCloud, Spotify, whatever. Like I can see the numbers going up.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, you just have to try stuff,
just do it. Yeah.
Accept that it might look a little cheesy, remove your ego. And it's like, if you can't remove your ego, then it's like, well, I think don't want it bad enough. I think
a lot of people are like, they're afraid to post things that don't perform too. They're like, if I'm going to post something and put all this energy into it, I want it to do well. And sometimes that doesn't happen.
Okay, here's my thought on that too, okay? Because this is what happened with me. So like, if you're going to have a post go viral, first of all, you're not good at social media yet if you haven't done it a bunch of times. Like the intricacies, you need to figure it out. Like you got to use the right text at the moment. So you need to consume media to figure out what are other people doing that's working. You can just like copy those ideas at first if you want before you have your own ideas.
Right. That's why they're called trends.
Right. Once you have like the flow down, then like if your post is going to go viral, you want other content there for them to go binge after that goes viral. So like when you're posting at the beginning and you're not getting likes and you're like discouraged, something eventually is going to hit if you keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, wouldn't you rather have, if something goes super viral, wouldn't you rather have 50 posts that those people can go binge and become super fans about, and then find a bunch of other songs that they didn't know about too?
Right.
I mean, like, that seems
That's
like
how
a better...
I felt about this podcast. It's like 4 years of episodes in the bank.
You can
not only see the cool thing too is you can go back if you do become a super fan of someone. You typically go back and like look at the earlier stuff too, and like you can see the growth and the progression, and like I don't know, I just feel like that like bonds the person to your work even more when they're like, wow, this guy's been working for a long time and he's grown a lot, he's gotten a lot better, the quality's a lot higher, blah 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 blah, whatever it is. Like that's cool to look at too, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I just found out about the Will Clark podcast. I mean, I knew he had a podcast, but like I just listened to it because Jaws was on it, and so I listened to that episode, and I literally started binging every episode of his afterwards, like 100%. But yeah, I mean, if I could preach anything like to artists that are up and coming right now, it's like, you can't try and look cool. Like you can't be worried about not looking cool. Like getting yourself out there is so much cooler than, like sitting there and putting out music and it not doing anything. Like you got to promote yourself. If you want it bad enough, you got to just go for it. And just accept you're going to look a little dumb. And then you learn, and you don't look as dumb the next time. And, do
or
stuff
just
that
get
feels
used
natural.
to feeling dumb. Yeah.
You don't have to be like overly cheesy in a way that you don't feel comfortable. Like if you don't feel comfortable putting your face in front of a screen, at least post and do like those text things on there or something, that people have been doing where you put up photos and kind of put a text with the song. Like that works super well for some people who might not want to like put their face in front of a camera. But like, I mean, if you're not posting every day, like this opportunity of where social media is at right now is going to go away eventually.
Yes.
And the opportunity right now to be able to grow today for free is absolutely unbelievable. And you just have to jump on it.
I agree. Well, we've kind of covered everything. We are getting to our hour time limit that I try and keep to, but I have a couple of wrap up questions for you. One, as we wrap up, what are you looking forward to most this year with your career? I know you mentioned you have like 9 songs coming out this summer. What else do you have that you can tease or talk about?
I mean, it is right now, definitely the highlight is on the music that's coming out. Okay. Like I said, the country stuff too. So I have like the country remixes that are coming out, literally next week.
Yeah.
Which is super exciting. And so I have that coming out, and then like my big single, my big EPs. And then for later in the year, I'm hoping to do some crossover country more. Like I want to go back and forth because I'm not like going to do only country stuff moving forward, but I'm definitely going to I have some originals that I'm working on with some country artists, and just try and make some cool music that like nobody's ever heard before that crosses the genres over. And then,
So you plan on sticking with this, you kind of really enjoy working in this like hybrid space then. You really want to like, keep building on that. That's cool.
I mean, I like making things that I haven't done before to myself. And so like, it's hard for me to like want to make the same song over and over again. And that thing specifically, like, the fact that nobody else is really doing it kind of makes me really excited to do it,
Well, it makes you easy to stand out too. I mean, that's why I wanted you on the podcast to talk about that. It's because like no one, like people are doing it from here. And I've heard it from other people, but especially again, I'll say again, no one's doing it to the level of what you're doing it. So you already immediately stand out from the pack. So,
well, I'm going to try and keep pushing the boundaries on it and try and make the country crossover stuff in a cool way. That people haven't heard before. So hopefully I can achieve that, and we'll see. But I'm definitely planning on doing more of that later in the year, I guess, to answer the question.
Yeah. Final question: if there's one piece of advice that you could give yourself when you first decided that music was what you wanted to do for your career, and you switched out of real estate and all that you were doing already into this new passion career that you're working so hard at, what would the advice to your younger self be?
100%. I know without a doubt it is. Make more music, like like as in finish more full songs, and realize that like the one you're working on right now, just because you worked on it for 6 months, that doesn't mean it's the one that's going to break you, because your ideas only get better when you make more of them. So like
absolutely
do the full process, finish a full song, and don't get caught up in thinking, and also plan on being a 10-year overnight success, and then if it happens sooner, that's great. But like, just having the mentality that you're just in it for the long haul.
That's what I did. And I'm very glad I did that from the start of even just this podcast. Is like, I'm going to do this thing no matter what happens for 10 years. And at the end of those 10 years, if it hasn't gone anywhere, okay, cool, I can throw in the towel. And I'd be like, at least I gave it 10 years. But I'd rather be in that position of like, I'd rather give it 10 years and it not work out than be like, oh, it's year 3. It's still nothing's happening. It's like, but it could have happened in year 4 or 5. So why'd you stop?
Exactly. There we go. But yeah, I mean, finish as many full songs as possible, and just like promise yourself that that your ideas are going to get infinitely better every single time you finish a full song.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks so much for everyone else who tuned in. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and drop us a 5-star review if you are listening on any audio streaming platforms. And I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.